Ladies and gentlemen, big hairy news. Big hairy news.
Hey, kia ora koutou e te whānau. Welcome back to another edition of Big Hairy News. Kia ora, Chewie.
Kia ora, Pat. How
Doing
we
well,
doing
son?
on Monday?
Yeah, I'm doing
Yeah,
good,
not
right,
too
actually.
bad.
Not too bad, not too bad. Busy is the answer to your question. BHN just made an investment today in some camera gear, so it's a busy old time. Other than that, yeah, just keeping on. I think we've got 4 weeks left. 4 weeks left until we wrap up. Maybe 5. No, 5 weeks. I think 5 weeks
okay.
left until the
Yep.
end of the year. Finishing, planning, not that this needs to be announced now and people don't need to put it in their diaries, but planning on wrapping up December 18th will be our last show. And then doing best ofs through the Christmas, New Year break, and then back we come. Certainly the plan. But yeah, no, just busy. Lots of stuff going on. Got to make the best ofs. Got to do that sort of thing. Yeah, good times though. I saw in the weekend Harriet. Have you seen Harriet? Harriet Tubman, the movie about Harriet Tubman?
No, I haven't seen it.
Holy crap. What an amazing movie. It's from 2019. They've just brought it to Netflix. It's got Odin Jr., the guy who played Aaron Burr in Hamilton, which I'm sure you know very well, Chewie. And I think love musicals. I think the main actress from it is also in Wicked, is the one of the witches. Amazing singing voice. I think I could be wrong with that, but yeah, really, I think it's got like a 97% Rotten Tomatoes audience score. But yeah, pretty amazing movie. Take it with a grain of salt. All these biopics are sort of based on a true story. But yeah, it was a pretty big thing actually. It was pretty cool. Yeah, so I just had a pretty chill weekend, relaxing, maxing and relaxing, that kind of stuff. How about yourself?
I went to see the new Running Man, which is getting some unkind reviews online, but I really enjoyed it.
Now, Running Man originally Schwarzenegger?
Yes, the first movie version of it.
Yeah, the original. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, didn't know they're doing one.
But the new one, directed by Edgar Wright, and I essentially love everything that Edgar Wright's ever done. It's got Glenn Powell in the main role, which I found really interesting because he's basically been pretty typecast in a heartthrob romantic lead, sort of rugged, good-looking man role, and in this point, he's possibly the angriest man I've ever seen.
Right.
And it's like right. I said to my partner afterwards, of like, if you could sum this movie up in one line, it would be like, local man literally too angry to die.
Okay.
And the real anti-authoritarian message is in it. And yeah, it did what it said on the box. I had a great time watching it.
Nice. Big congratulations as well to the team on Sunday night for the first episode of The Collective. Where is it? There it is, The Collective, which started on Sunday night. It looked like they had a good time. I had a catch up and a look around, and yeah, looks like it's going to be a good crew. Jordan wasn't able to join on the first one, but Bree and Sean and Paul were there. If any of you saw it in the chat, I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to share your thoughts around that. Yeah, and just a big old time. Also, remembered, Chewie, that it is the middle of November. Just remembered on the weekend. And I know we've been talking about this for a long time. We've been talking about upcoming Christmas. We've been talking about merch and stuff for upcoming Christmas. So we have our web developer Johan has developed an app that can be used for making bundles for the website, which is great. It's official. It's been put to the Shopify sort of ecosystem, and they have to approve it and stuff. It's not quite ready to go yet as a bundle, so we'll be able to go get this and this and this and this and pay. So what I'm going to do this week is a pretty big double deal for this week. Now, the cups, I was thinking about giving you an opportunity for the cups, doing it like, prepay for a lesser amount and we'll get them sent out to you. The dates have changed so many times with the supplier out of Asia. I just don't want to, because I would hate for something to happen and then us to be ballsed up. So let's just put it on the table. The very likely scenario is the cups will either be here this year in time to get, but maybe not receive before Christmas. That's the earliest they'll be here. Other than that, it could be after Christmas, New Year's, and it'll be a next year thing. So this is what I've decided to do. And this is our new merch store based on, the site, but there is the old merch store, which is the same thing. And actually on the old merch store, it's got what the deal is. Okay. Are you ready for this, whānau? This text will get put on the BHN, the new one here, this one here at some stage. But this is what we're going to do for you for this week only. Merry Christmas, BHN whānau. We want to make you twice as happy this season, so we're giving you 50% off a second tee or hoodie you add to your order. And on top of that, we're going to send you a free Lucky Dip 4-pack of stickers with an order containing a tee, or an 8-pack of stickers with an order containing a hoodie. Bit convoluted. Basically, buy a hoodie or a t-shirt, get a second hoodie or a t-shirt for half price. That's the deal. So you pay, if you buy 2 t-shirts, it's going to be one t-shirt full price, one t-shirt half price. If you buy a t-shirt and a hoodie, it's going to be probably hoodie full price, t-shirt half price. So that's how it's going to work. So one item at full price, the second item at half price. On top of that, if you have a hoodie in the order, so t-shirt hoodie, that would be a hoodie, then I'm going to send you an 8-pack of stickers. Lucky Dip stickers, random selection. I'll send you an 8-pack of stickers, and we're selling 8 packs of stickers at the moment for $32. So it's a $32 bonus. If your order contains a t-shirt, meaning maybe you buy 1 t-shirt or maybe you buy 2 t-shirts where you get the second one for half price, we'll send you a 4-pack of stickers. Is that pretty clear, Chewie?
Clear as mud, sir.
So this week only, you get the second item at half price. We haven't set this up, but I think the system defaults to the cheaper one being half price. So if you get a hoodie and a t-shirt, it makes the t-shirt half price. I don't know what to do to change that. That just seems to be how it's pre-ordered for people. Two t-shirts, of course, one of the t-shirts is half price. 2 hoodies, one of the hoodies is half price. With a hood, if there is a singular hoodie in the order, an 8-pack of stickers will be our gift to you. If there is a singular t-shirt in the hoodie or 2, we will send you a 4-pack. So 1 4-pack, 1 8-pack with any order, depending on if you've just got hoodies, t-shirts, or a combination. So if you get a combination, hoodie and a t-shirt, then we'll send you an 8-pack, because a hoodie is within that order. And it's mid-November, whānau. New Zealand Post, I think, has got a date of something like the 13th of January to get it by Christmas. I don't want to guarantee that long. So I'm like, I think we've got a couple of weeks to make sure you've got it by Christmas. bhn.nz/shop, or the original site is, what is the original site, Chewie? bhnshop.nz. It's both the same. The bhn.nz site uses the Shopify backend from the other place. Okay. Did I say 13th of January? Kiwibird just said 13th of January. If I said 13th of January, what I meant was I think New Zealand Post is saying 13th of December to get it. Yeah, 13th of January, they'll get it to you by next Christmas. That's what I mean. 13th of December.
I can tell you what, my ADD brain there during your pitch there was just like, buy stuff, get stickers. Buy stuff, get stickers. Buy stuff, get stickers. I'm not sure on the numbers or what I have to buy, but I will buy these things, and then I will also receive the thing that I bought and some stickers. Got it? Good.
Yeah. Buy 2 stuff, get 1 stuff half and stickers. Buy single stuff, get stickers. Does that make more sense?
Stickers.
bhn.nz/shop. Some other bits and bobs to tell you about as we go through the night. Some thanks to new patrons. We're about 15 patrons away, Chewie, from 500. But we'll do all those numbers officially after we have a chat with Dr. Gary Payinda, which I think we just might do right now. Dr. Gary Payinda, obviously a friend of the show, part of the Big Hairy Network with his show The Frontline, has had some very interesting news out about him today. All over the media. Labour selects Dr. Gary Payinda to take on former Health Minister Dr. Shane Reti. Let's welcome to the show the first selection for the Labour Party outside of the current MPs. For Whangarei, it is Dr. Gary Payinda. Gary, welcome to the show, mate.
Oh, thanks for having me, gentlemen. How are you doing?
Oh, we're doing good. We're sitting we're sitting at the feet of greatness. Apparently, you're going to change the world for us from the inside. It sounds like, is that right?
Yeah. Problem's just about solved. I've been a candidate for about 8 hours now, so yep, everything should be fixed by morning.
Yeah, excellent.
Put a bow on it. Job done.
Yeah, very good. Hey, huge congratulations, Gary. Tell us why. Well, I mean, you're currently an ED doctor. You're obviously serving your community in an extraordinary way. You are actually serving the nation in what you're doing with things like the podcast and interviews and letting the rest of us know. Why the desire to kind of move to the inside of it rather than the outside looking in?
I think all of us are trying to do everything we can to push back in any way we can. So I have friends who are writing submissions complaining again about everything that David Seymour is doing and ACT to, increase voter suppression in the country, to increase the racial divide in the country. So they're busy in their way doing what they can. All of us are getting involved as best we can. I mean, look at you guys. You guys have developed essentially the left-wing media for the country, right? And you're growing by leaps and bounds. So we're all doing what we can. And if I can speak some truths and I can be honest and people can understand what I'm saying, and they want me to take a bigger voice and speak for them at a higher level, I'm more than happy to do that. So yeah, I think we're all trying to do what we can. I'm at a point in my life where my kids are out of the home, they're in uni, and I can afford to take the time to do things that I think are really important now. And yeah, you touched on emergency medicine, right? I love being an emergency doctor. It's the greatest job I could have ever had. But that lets you sort of address one problem at a time. And it's really important. But the problems are multiplying so fast now. I feel like in the past 24 months, it's been like trying to push against a snowball that's just coming down the hill, getting bigger and bigger and more unstoppable. And you really have to hand it to ACT, NZ First, National. As much as I detest a lot of what they've done to the social fabric of New Zealand, they have actually been incredibly fast at steamrollering things in. Like they have achieved more, albeit bad, but they've achieved more in a shorter space of time than probably any government that's been around since I've been here. I mean, I've been here 18 years, but I think we're going back about 40 years to the sort of era of euthanasia when we talk about a government perhaps as bad as this one.
I was thinking about you in the list. I'm just going to bring up. I'm interested in your thoughts around what are you trying to achieve here when it comes to going up against Shane Reti, because he has a significant margin in Whangarei based on the last election. He got more than double the second place getter last time. Is your desire to take him out and to win Whangarei? Is your desire as a doctor to be able to to sit in front of him at a debate and talk about Dr. Cigaretti? Is your desire to make noise? Like, what's the I was going to say, what's the end game? That sounds like the last question of the interview, but what is the end game? What are you trying to achieve with this?
Let's turn that around and just say, what would anyone want to achieve out of government? I want to see a government that's responsive to the needs of people, and I'm most concerned about the people, sort of the median New Zealander, the one who's got an hourly wage that's like $3 to $5 above minimum wage, right? That's 2.5 million New Zealanders that are in that rough category, right? It's the bottom, let's say 50% of workers are barely scraping by, yet they're the ones keeping the country going. And what I want to see is a government, any government, that will take us back to what labor stood for in the 40s, which was
Yes.
pension schemes, national health care, a nation that looks after its own, that ensures that when you become a pensioner, that doesn't condemn you to poverty. Um, Essentially, everything that's the opposite of the current government right now is what I want to achieve, and I want to help the party that I think can achieve that. And whether we'll get there, I obviously don't know. Whether I'm up to the task, I don't know. But one has to push back when one sees injustice. When you see things that are blatantly wrong, like beneficiaries' benefits being cut while we're giving $2.9 billion to landlords, that's unethical. Um, One only has to look at the current government and just look at the number of ex lobbyists that are in there, right? One's an ex tobacco lobbyist, high up. I don't know what position he is, 2 or 3. You've got an ex gun lobbyist in charge of gun policy. This is stuff that never should have happened. It's just wild. It's just out the gate. But that's the world we're living in. A banker was put in charge of the health ministry. Of course we're going to get the results we're seeing. If that's the sort of people and the sort of mindset, we've got a mercenary in charge of the police. Well, sorry, ex-mercenary. I need to be quite careful, I guess. Ex-tobacco lobbyist. Yeah, it's just disappointing on every level. And you ask me like, oh, why would I want to give up emergency medicine if I love it? And I do love it. Every week, roughly, there's a new outrage. It might be like trying to degrade workers' rights. It could be taking $13 billion away from low wage earning women. I mean, you just thing after thing after thing is just absolutely outrageous. And someone's got to do something. And if I can help do that something, if I can speak up, I want to do that. Did that answer your
Chewie,
question?
yeah, sort of. Yeah, it does. It does. It gives us lots of information. Chewie, I'll throw to you in a sec. I just want to ask one clarifying question. Because when you talk about Labor going back to what it was originally founded on, are you also suggesting that Labor is missing the mark a bit at the moment? Because if they're going to need to go back, does that mean that they're focusing on the wrong things now?
We don't live in 1939 anymore. So talking about going back, I mean, I revere what Michael Joseph Savage achieved. That
Yep.
was a little bit of a different world than we're living in right now. So I've got to be realistic about what we can achieve, what the
Yep.
population has been told is achievable. You have to remember our media, with the exception of sort of small places like this one. Media is very corporatized, very much bought up by mega, corporates. And if you think we can make, great changes, we need to take the people along with us on that journey. And do I think that Chris Hipkins and the team he's assembled can do that? Yes, absolutely. He's a highly ethical, good guy, like a humane and decent and thoughtful man. The kind of person you would want. Like he's not going to be partisan. I mean, I'm ready to fight, right? I'm ready to go. But he's the kind of thoughtful, caring person that you want in charge, you want in the top seat. And yeah, I think there's a role for all of us. I do think the government will get there. I mean, they've put out, I mean, I know as much as you, right? They've put out a couple nascent policies. What are they? A sovereign wealth fund that will reinvest money into New Zealand businesses and take us away from being just a real estate economy, right? A bloated Ponzi scheme of a real estate situation, which is again what Luxon wants to keep going, right? Juice up real estate prices and leave us with a country where housing is completely unaffordable for anyone of modest means, let alone our youth who are leaving in droves. So yeah, do I think labor is the vehicle to get us there? Yes. Do I think there's a panacea or some like all problems will be fixed? No. There's endemic problems, but look at the CGT thing. We are one of the only countries, one of the only developed countries on earth that doesn't have a capital gains tax. That's an abomination. It's a scam that's been perpetrated on and on for decades. We have the chance to end that and directly tie it to patient well-being. 90% of people will have their primary care needs covered for free with those 3 GP visits.
That's interesting.
Huge. I mean, it
That's
may not seem
interesting.
huge to you, but it's huge to me.
No, what's interesting about that, which makes it feel huge, is the 90%, which I hadn't heard before. Also about the CGT, it seems to be working. Latest polls that are coming out, and not that we read everything into the polls, but it seems that the people, as much as Luxon is saying, nope, it's not that. And people seem to like the concept at least. Chewie, you should jump in, sir.
I had one immediate thought about the fact that you're going directly up against Dr. Eti is you have yourself very much on the front line as an emergency doctor versus someone that is a doctor but is probably more focused on the private health investments that he has, the private health hospitals that he has shares in. I think there can not be a more clear delineation between two people going head to head in that electorate, and I cannot wait to see it. And I will be screaming from the sidelines, Dr. Gary from the top rope with a steel bedpan. It'll be amazing. I wish you all the best.
A full steel bedpan, Chewie, a full one.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, Chewie. Maybe that could be. We could have memorabilia that's branded by BHN for us, a steel bedpan that says, we hope for something better than what we currently have.
On the inside, you could have it laser etched with, "It gets worse."
He's currently, I'm just looking at the list right now, based on the last election, he's number 9. Retti's 9 on the list. Do you think he gives a crap about Whangarei, about winning it? Because, there's a chance that he doesn't want to go up against you. Do you think you'll actually get him to a debate in the Whangarei electorate? Or do you think he'll just, I'll take my list vote and not really worry about it? Any thoughts?
To be honest with you, Pat, I do not care. I'm happy to debate him in the aisles of Pack and Save. I'm ready to do this on a stage somewhere. I do not care. He is largely irrelevant to me because he's largely irrelevant to the people of Northland who needed him. Yes. He is a gentleman that should have been the shining hope of Northlanders, right? He's a GP, doctor. He's Maori. He's tangata whenua. He was born here in Northland. He should have been the greatest advocate for Maori health and the health of poor people and the health of the working class that this region had ever seen. And on each one of those accounts, he is the greatest, most dismal disappointment that this region has seen. He has let down his GP brethren. Doctors in general really don't have any time for him, nor nurses, nor healthcare workers in general. I would challenge you, do a survey. I'd love to see it. Put it out there. Find me the healthcare worker in the system, in the public system, that thinks he has done even a remotely acceptable job. So he's let doctors down. He's let patients down. He's let his own Maori people down, right? This is the man who, as health minister, destroyed the Maori Health Authority, right? No compunction, no regret. This is a man who got rid of the anti-smoking laws that could have saved Northlanders' lives, Maori lives. He got rid of all three aspects of the anti-smoking laws, the smoke-free laws, and then had the temerity to give the tobacco companies $216 million to help them sell more heated tobacco products. He's not even on my radar as an ex-health minister, as a politician, as a doctor. To me, he is none of those things. He is as irrelevant to me as he has proven to his constituents. So yeah, I'm more than happy to chat with him. He's always been an honorable man in terms of having good manners, and he's always a civil man. So I have to respect that. But I feel these things strongly, and it is time that this government be held to account for the bad things it's done to average New Zealanders. And I intend to do that with every breath, every day of the next 13 months.
What does it mean for you as a practicing doctor and you as a Labor candidate? Is there any parts of those that kind of, I don't mean conflict with you personally, but do you have anything now you need to think about? Like you've got the Labor shirt on now. I'm assuming that's not going to be worn to work. How does that work in the run up for the next 13, 12, 11 months?
Yeah. So to be clear, nothing I do politically ever will impact my interaction with a patient in ED. That will never happen. I will not be wearing pins or what have you. Like that relationship is sacrosanct and always will be to me. But outside of work, in my personal capacity, talking to you, just as honestly as I would talk to anybody on the street, I will not hold back. I will tell the truth. I will advocate for patients. I will advocate for Whangarei. I will advocate for Northland. And I mean, that's all I've tried to do, and that will continue. Whether that has professional repercussions remains to be seen. It's been a very hard time to be a public healthcare worker under this government, speaking out on behalf of nurses, on patients and doctors and healthcare in general. So yeah, I'm not going to go into it here in any detail, Pat.
Yep.
Yeah, I've said enough.
Yeah.
It's challenging. It's getting worse. It's getting harder, and we'll leave it at that. But I am uncowed and unwavering, at least at this point. We'll see what happens in the future.
I've just got this image for some merch. Actually, I have to talk to Emily. The Superman image where he comes out and he's pulling his tie off, and there's an S underneath there. Do one with Gary. He's got out of the hospital, so he's in the car park now. He's going like this, and he's taking his doctor's thing off, and there's a Labor underneath it, like a superhero type thing. Gary, that's the way to do it. That nobody knows until they need to know, and then they know. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm not going to make any pretensions to be a superhero. Yeah, no, it's a cool imagery. Not as cool as you two little guys looking like gnomes on the hoodie. That's really cute. But no, I'm cool with the merch for now. This will be my T-shirt for the next 13 months. And I'm happy to.
You said to us before we started, you've been getting advice all day. What's the best piece of advice you've heard today for the next 12 months?
I won't say it's a piece of advice, but the remarkable thing is the amount of support I've gotten. Radio New Zealand did an article, and I couldn't believe that within hours there was like 430 comments. And I looked through some of them, and it was unbelievable. Like it almost brought a tear to my eye to see some of the comments that were out there. I've treated something like 20,000 people with my own hands over the past 18 years in Northland. I've been on the rescue helicopter for a few years. I've been doing my work with, surf life saving for probably a decade now. Like, people know me and they're expressing support that goes in excess of anything I could have hoped for. People saying that they'll help handing out stuff and putting up signs, and we're still a year away, but I've got people that want to get involved now because they understand that we cannot afford to let this government have another 3 years, because that's when they start absolutely cementing in some of these horrifically bad policies. We've got to get in there and fix the damage they've done while it's still fixable. Give you a simple, easy to understand example. You put millions or hundreds of millions out into the private sector. You throw taxpayer money, your and my taxpayer money, out into the private sector. Private hospitals are doubling in size and adding MRIs and building surgical centers and radiology groups and telehealth groups. It is a feeding frenzy among for-profit healthcare right now. That lures out the public healthcare staff, the theater nurses, the doctors, the surgeons, endoscopists, you name it, drives them out of the public system into the private. It's not easy to get those people back. You can't undo quickly the kind of damage that David Seymour and Chris Luxon and Chris Bishop and Simeon Brown have done over the past 24 months. It's generational stuff. Think of the number of people we're losing. Every 10 minutes or something, we're losing a New Zealand citizen abroad. These people, many of them won't come back, and our nation will be the poorer for it. So, yeah, I have great hopes of what we can do, but that's later. Like, what we need to do now is literally just rally people for an overwhelming show of force, that we understand that there's hope out there. We can do better than this. That this government has appealed to our basest instincts, sought to divide us along racial lines, sought to enrich the already wealthy to an absurd extent, and made life harder, so much harder for people like my patients, the people of Northland. Yeah, so I have hope for the future, but I'm not starry-eyed. I'm not a child.
I've got one more question, but Chewie, you got anything else to wrap up with?
I just want to say, if you bring in that level of authenticity all the way to the finishing line, that's unstoppable. It's the direct difference between the government ministers that we have now with what we could have. It's that fire. Like, they don't have an answer for authenticity, and I think that's why when I read through the comments on the RNZ article that you're talking about, that's what comes through, is people are sick of fakeness.
Well, you only have to look as far as the health minister. This is a young man who has probably only had 2 to 3 years of real life work experience, period. He graduated uni, became a commercial banker for a few years, and then was handpicked to go into politics, where he's been ever since. The idea that this is a government of excellence or even competence, that they are good money managers and good businessmen, this is a government of I need to not be pejorative. I'll stop myself there. No, we don't have the best people in the job. And I'm not saying I'm the best. I've got tons of foibles, tons of problems, but we do need some degree of people who know what they're doing. But I don't even mind that. I would just take someone that is looking out for the healthcare assistants, the teachers' aides. I think if you take care of those people, the ones who are struggling right now, the whole country gets better. When we provide them with dental care, with health care, when we look after their children and make sure they have good schools, whole country benefits. the rich get richer, the poor are better taken care of, and we have a more
Yes.
productive society. So that's what I care about, and that's what I've always cared about, and that's what I'm going to continue caring about, no matter the outcome of an election.
Last question, kind of from me. It's a bit more of a procedural one. Do you know anything about you and a list? Like, are you going to be on the list for Labor? Do you know when they release the list, or is that not even a conversation yet?
Yeah, no, I don't. I don't worry about things that I can't control or that I can have no influence on. This is where my energy goes, is in the stuff that I'm telling you about and taking care of patients. Um, I don't I don't know about the machinery of how the list process will work. You need to be known. You need to be respected, and I would like to think that I've got both of those things. People know who I am, and I've at least got a modicum of respect from the work I've done and from the people that work with me every day who know me best. So I go open up Facebook, see what the comments are, and I think you'll get an idea of who I am and who the people are that support me. So yeah, I've got no worries about what place on a list I will be. I have worries about whether the people of Northland um, will be looked after, or whether we uh, get broken and divided and attack each other and end up losing, and the same people are allowed to cement in the destruction of what I consider the social fabric of New Zealand.
Congratulations, Gary. With you in your Labor top there, Labor t-shirt there, do you want to put on your podcaster's hat for just a second and tell us about what we released today? You see there was a bit of an exclusive with Craig that we put out there today. Do you want to tell the people about it? It is available now, but do you want to tell people about it?
Yeah, so I think this one's pretty important. So Craig Rennie is a Council of Trade Unions chief economist. So he's a budget guy. He loves budgets. He looks at budgets for fun. He's also incredibly committed to his job. I think in a similar way that I have been committed to mine. He loves it thoroughly and intensely. And he was looking through some of the lines that Nicola Willis signed off on, like some budgetary document that I guess on a quarterly basis or something gets updated. And it's not a projection. It's not for the future. It's for what has already happened, and it's been signed off by the finance minister. And he found a line in there that talks about $500 million. So that's $500 million that was not spent, that was in the Health New Zealand budget, that was apparently, he says, budgeted for health personnel, like nurses that we desperately need. And apparently, again, Nicola Willis's signature is on this document. Apparently, that $500 million, if it doesn't get spent to pay for the nurses that we so desperately need, it gets recycled into the general account, the general budget.
Yep.
And so, it can go for things like the $216 million for the tobacco companies that we're giving them of taxpayer dollars, or the $300 million for oil and gas exploration, or the $2.9 billion that we continue to give to landlords. And that $500 million can't be clawed back. It's gone. It's being used for what these other purposes, and
Wow.
like it just, I don't know what, like, it blew my mind. Like I just asked him this a few times on the podcast. You really, like, watch it, watch it. He basically is saying that $500 million could have been used for personnel, for nurses, for doctors, and wasn't. And then it begs the question of why
Holy
and
shit.
how
Yeah.
and who knew about this, and why did Ms. Willis allow this to happen, and why wasn't the money spent on healthcare when we, again, desperately need it in the public sector? And I don't have those answers. You got to watch the podcast. It's
Yep.
it's quite mind blowing. And we'll see what the response is. The response that I fear the most will be that, Ms. Willis may say, that was Health New Zealand's problem. They didn't spend the money. It is what it is. They didn't get around to it. It got used somewhere else. Again, she knew about it, signed off on it. So I would love, if maybe you guys can ask her to come on the show.
Oh, I'd love to.
To just explain it. Maybe it's an error. Maybe it's completely wrong. Maybe it's some sort of accounting trick or thing, but she needs to speak to it, because if it is true, it's going to be bad. So we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I reserve judgment.
And of course, that's on all the Big Hairy Network sites, on the Facebook page, on the YouTube channel, and the Frontline has its own podcast channel on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Just before you go, Gary, a couple of people in the chat want you to know Dr. Gary versus Dr. Shane fight night when. So there's the first one. Peter
Bring
also
it any night you want. You host the venue. I'll be there.
Well, we're just starting to talk about next year, Gary, literally at the moment. And, if we can get together what we're trying to do, there could well be invites going out to health ministers, past, present, and future, to talk to us about health at a public event. So we'll keep that in mind. Peter says, Gary's got fire in the belly. I like that. Mm-hmm. And Arvid says, you're a doctor. Of course, I'm assuming that's what that means. OFC, you are a hero, Gary. Because you're saying the superhero tag. A lot of people think that as well, that you're doing God's work, my friend.
Never raise someone up to be a hero. You'll only be let down. Let's just be realistic. I don't want to be a hero. I don't want to change the world. I want people in Northland to have safe, warm, dry homes. I want them to have safe jobs with a decent minimum wage. I want them to have healthcare and dental care. And I just want them to be able to lead decent lives and educate their kids. That's it. That's enough.
Gary, thank you for joining us. Always a pleasure. Love hanging out. Congratulations on all the good work in the podcast at the moment, and best of luck with the next 12 months. Obviously, we'll stay in touch and we'll keep an eye.
Thanks for having me. And as always, thank you for what you do, because it lends an important voice that you don't hear in the rest of corporate, for-profit, billionaire-owned media. So it's really important. I want to support you guys in everything you do. And I wish you much continued success, Pat and Chewie.
Excellent, Gary. We'll talk to you soon, eh? Thanks for joining us.
See you, man. See you guys.
All the best.
Cheers.
A couple
what
of
we
super
want.
chats. Yep. Citizen Gold, $3.97. Just that listening, but away from keyboard tonight. And Arviz has got another one that says, get wrecked. Retty. There you go, Chewie. Off you go, sir. You can do your food now.
Look, I cannot overstate this or state this enough, that this is exactly what we want. We want to put authenticity and passion and fire up against this corrupted, compromised. Every single minister is in the pocket of someone else. And we need all the opposition to put up people that are in our pockets, that are speaking for us, not these corporate interests. Every single one of them. And this it is a great start. It's a fantastic start, because the association with BHN, this could be our first government minister. All going well. The first BHN government minister.
We want a consultancy fee after it. Once Gary gets to power, we want to be consultants somewhere doing something. Consultants for beard growing or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. But yes, I can't wait for that matchup. I can't wait.
I'm interested to see what Reti does. I mean, it's obviously what Gary's saying is true. He doesn't care. It's not what he's mostly there for. But I can imagine Reti not wanting a bar of it. I mean, you've seen it before, people coming off the electorate and going into list-only positions. But We'll see.
So, I mean, he's right. He doesn't need to beat Reti. He needs to convince his electorate that he's a better representative for them.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we're quite familiar with how good Dr. Gary is at speaking and where his passions lie and what is driving him to do this. And I'm sorry, I think that's unstoppable. I think it's all the people react to authenticity. This is what we've been talking about for the past couple of weeks as everybody freaks out about what happened in New York. Authenticity won.
Yep.
And I'm just I'm noting down who's fucking writing things down and learning the lesson. And I think this could be Labour's first little hat tip that they're paying attention, that maybe we need to have authentic people in these roles.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, like, I didn't say this during the interview, and it's not really important due to the overall picture, but also a big congratulations to Chewie, who apparently either got engaged today or announced his engagement today. Mm-hmm. So well done there. Yeah, and I think you're right, Chewie. It's when people bring their will, and like, I actually think Gary was far too nice to Simeon Brown. He said a corporate banker. He was a fucking bank teller, wasn't he? Wasn't he a bank teller? I mean, I find that to be a little bit less than, corporate banker or whatever. I could be wrong there, but that could be just a mock from someone else that I picked up. But I thought if he's been there for a couple of years, he didn't achieve much in banking. It's not like he became the manager of the bank and was in charge of a $100 million. It was like he was an entry level. He probably got coffee for the manager of the bank. So it's not even that his skill set in that was necessarily adding to what he is now. And it is also hilarious when all these guys on the right talk about people like, Jacinda Ardern. Oh, she worked at a fish and chip shop. She's never worked a day in her life. And it's like,
just gonna say
they're littered with people like that. They're littered with people like that. Or if they do have job experience, as we know, they're lobbyists, or they're working on like for Fonterra and Nicola Willis. It's like they're not grafters. And we've said this a million times before. Christopher Luxon, you're not a businessman. You're a board member. It's very different. If you're a businessman, when you say, businessman in politics would be great, what you're thinking of is the person who starts a business, who gets up early, who grows it, who turns it into a franchise, who, learns how. No, he's done none of that. He's never started a business. He worked in sales and then he went to the boardroom. He's not a businessman, but they sell it as businessmen because that rates well with a sector of the population. Anyway.
Yeah, and you can say that for so many, including Luxon. He hasn't built his own business. He's been middle management. He's been a rep. He's been in the boardroom. And these guys are happy to let their supporters sling rocks at people. The whole thing about Jacinda working in a fish and chip shop. Have you not had an after school job, you knobs? Ministry of Beards. Yes, I would leave the Ministry of Beards.
Let's go.
Changes.
There's another one here. Late fee finished up at the NRA meeting. Oh, NRA, Newtown Residents Association. Had a great time hanging with Julianne Genter. Different kind of NRA. Hey, want to say huge thanks to all of our patrons. You people are beautiful. You really do. You are the wind beneath our wings. But no, in all seriousness, you really are the cornerstone of being us. And the good thing now is it's not just about us being able to do us, but us being able to help Gary with his podcast, us being able to help Craig with his podcast, us being able to go give a space to a bunch of other people to do a collective podcast now as well. So we're a good return on investment. And for some reason, we decided to throw out there for a bit of a lark. I wonder if we can get to 500 patrons before Christmas. Now, remember, whānau, we mean this with the greatest amount of love that there is. We want patrons who can stay with us for 12 months. We don't say that because we're looking for as much as possible. We're saying that because literally as we speak, we're having meetings about public events next year. And the only way we can plan those is to know what is coming in, and we can only know what's coming in based on our patrons. So if you're someone who wants to join up and be a part of us and help us, get to these public meetings next year, help to us continue on with what we're doing, and you can manage it till the end of next year, which is post-election, then head to, what is it? Patreon.com. I was going so well. Patreon.com/Big Hairy News. I want to say huge thanks to Kiwi Boy, Gary Verco, Joshua Moss, Chaz, Tucker Cody, Tico, and Judith Paulin, who have all become patrons in the last kind of 10 days. Also, these people have changed their patronage. So if you're someone who's already a patron and you've been thinking about going up, or let's be honest, going down a level, I would rather that you went down a level and stuck with us till the end of next year than stayed where you were, struggled, and had to cut out after 3 months. But these people, HGZ, Anthony Flack, Sam, Wooming, Luke D, Michael Rowe, Paul Christensen, J Lord, Rambling Sid Rumpo, and Gary and Trinity have all changed their patronage over that's probably last month or so. Some of you may not have changed in the credits yet because it's a bit harder changing you guys, but I want to acknowledge you all and say a huge thanks for being a part of what we do. It's really important for you guys to be involved, because if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be doing this at all. So people who aren't patrons, also thank you. We thank you. I'm sure Gary and Craig and Paul and Bree and those guys who are also getting from your support would thank you as well. And if you want to be a part of it, patreon.com/Big Hairy News. Right.
Remember,
Chewie,
folks, one of the strongest benefits to you contributing to our Patreon is that you make Pat's job harder because he has to keep redoing the credits.
it's difficult.
I know
It's a
that
difficult
would
thing to
motivate
do.
me.
It's a difficult thing to do. We're going to go into another story shortly, but we've got a couple of guests already booked up for this week. Do you know the Opportunities Party has relaunched, Chewie? It's now
Yes, I
known
saw
as
that on Q&A.
Opportunity, singular. They are going to be joining us on Wednesday night to have a chat about what they're all about. We know we had Raf on definitely twice, maybe even 3 times the last election cycle. And the Opportunities Party there was an interesting beast because it seemed to change sort of, I guess you hope that you can kind of move with the times, but it didn't seem to be very focused on exactly what it wanted to do. And there was a lot of their policies, many people watching thought, oh yeah, I quite like that, but there were some gaps in the ways that they were processed, and we'll talk more about that on Wednesday when we have the new leader of the Opportunity Party, or Opportunity New Zealand, or whatever they call themselves now. The other thing, Chewie, is tomorrow night. You think you've had some fire tonight, which you have. No offense to anyone else, but tomorrow night, guess who's coming to town? Guess who's coming to town? Tanya's going to be joining us. This is from tonight.
Waiting patiently for the update of Te Rarangi Rangatira for the 17th of November 2025, and it's coming at you right now. We now have 531 schools who have declared that they will continue to give effect to Te Tiriti o Waitangi despite this government removing that requirement from the Education and Training Act. Now, David Seymour opened his trap today on social media and said that he doesn't like the tone of some of these letters that have been sent to the minister, and he thinks that they are intolerant and bullying, and there is no way
I just got to pause and go, what a little bitch. Intolerant. What these snowflakes, they are honestly, they are everything they accuse other people of doing. David Seymour, what a little bitch. Yes, Joe, sorry.
I was just going to say, every accusation's an admission.
Exactly.
And this is exactly it again.
100%.
I'm letting that slide without saying something about it. It is the absolute height of arrogance and gaslighting for a man who brought the Treaty Principles Bill, wasted how many millions of dollars to do that, and then brought the Regulatory Standards Bill, which 160,000 people made submissions on, 98.7% in opposition, both of which aimed at destroying Te Tiriti, and now this repeal aimed at removing one of the most powerful sections that we have in our law, enabling the recognition of Te Tiriti. And he's the one saying that the schools are being the bullies and the schools are being intolerant. I really think that David Seymour thinks we're all stupid, but we're not stupid, David. We know what you're doing. You're trying to destroy Te Tiriti because you know it is the one thing that protects our entire country from your greedy corporate mates. And guess what? We stood up to you against the Treaty Principles Bill. We stood up to you against the RSB, and we're standing up to you again for this.
So down in case it's music that's copyrighted. So there you go. So there's about 2,500 schools in New Zealand in the space of a week. They've got together 500 schools who say they're basically committed to continuing on with the recognition of the treaty as they always were. So yes, no one will be cold this week because we had fire tonight, and we sure as shit are having fire tomorrow night as well. Just so.
I sent an email to my former high school today because they're not on that list.
Oh, that's a good idea, Chewie. It's a real good idea. Get in touch. Yeah, I'll have a look as well, actually. I went to 3 schools. I went to 1 primary school and 2 secondary schools, so I might do that as well. All right, guys. I think that's it. We got anything else? There's a few starred messages there before we move into Mark Mitchell.
Are we being mean to Mark again now?
Luxon
That didn't take
failed
long.
upwards. And absent-minded intellectual says Simeon Brown looks a lot like Pee Wee Herman. This is a really interesting interview on Q&A. It's interesting because it never kind of went anywhere. They talked quite a lot about the process to do with receiving complaints. And of course, this is all about the Costello McSkimming cover-up. And I'm only going to play you one clip from it.
You mean Costa?
What did I say?
You said
Costa.
Costello.
Thank you. I retract and apologize. Costa. And I'm only going to play you one clip. There was a lot of talk in this interview about, is it normal practice for a complaint about police to come to the minister's office and then be forwarded back to police? And Jack uses a couple of examples. So if I had an issue about, one of Shane Jones's department and I sent it to Shane Jones's office, would you expect that complaint? And he's saying rather than to go through the channels of the minister's office, to then go back to the place that's being complained about. If you were in a workplace and you had a complaint about your manager, and so you sent a complaint to the CEO, would they then send it to the manager to sort out? That's the kind of question he's asking. Now, the problem is, Chewie, it's not a problem. The reality is that system is not necessarily wrong. If there was a 1 year police officer, they've been in the police force for 1 year, and someone in the public made a complaint about that police officer for 1 year and it went to the minister's office, obviously the minister's not going to handle that complaint about a 1 year police officer, and it would go back to the police. But it's also undeniable that the system is broken because of the broken result we got in this instance. So the conversation is kind of like the minister is not necessarily wrong, but he also kind of is at the same time. He's going to say, well, the system's always worked. And it's like, yeah, until it didn't. I've got no warrant of fitness for my car. I've never got a ticket before. The system's always worked until I got pulled over by the police and got a ticket for my warrant of fitness. It's a really dumb answer to say, but the system's always worked, rather than go, you know what, this is the part where he's wrong. At no point does he go, yes, the system we had set up was completely wrong. Obviously it was completely wrong, because look what the fuck just happened. Because if the system was right, this wouldn't have happened. But the reason that I struggled with this interview is a lot of what is said is correct. I can imagine there'll be lots of incidences that a complaint would go to the minister's office, then back to the group, because, as I said, the minister's not going to investigate a complaint about a 20-year-old first-year police officer. But equally, the system is also broken, because look what happened. I think the evidence is there to say the system was broken. And the minister never seems to quite get to the point that, yes, the system is broken. He gets quite defensive. And I've put in the show notes, we, you and me, Chewie, and everyone almost in society, had a lot of grace for this minister last week. And we were all pretty much like, it seems that everything's been done. It seems that everything's above board. There doesn't seem to be anything that these guys can be held responsible for, ministers, prime ministers. He got 36 emails to his office from the woman known, I think, as Z. 36. And he's like, well, the system we had, I never saw them. Yeah. So the system's broken, but it was working until this point. Yeah. But the system shouldn't have worked, and he never quite gets there. So I find this frustrating, because there's not exactly a massive hypocrisy or incorrect data or anything that he points to, but the system is obviously broken, because look what just fucking happened. And if the system wasn't like this, this wouldn't have happened. But also, lots of complaints would go to the ministers and correctly go back to the police. So, yeah, I find it all a bit frustrating, but I've gone to the part of the conversation where Jack starts to talk about the oversight system failure, and he's right. The oversight system failure. So this was the way they had it set up was wrong, as is evidenced by the result it gave us. And I'll just leave it there now. I'm going to explain it for a fourth time. We'll have a listen to what they've got to say.
I think we all accept the grave failings that have been identified in this report came as the result of police leadership.
Yeah.
But in the interests of comprehensive accountability, do you accept it was a failing not to establish a better oversight system?
Yes. So the only answer to this is, in hindsight, we now know that there was a failing, because look what happened. And he can't get there. I don't know whether this is from Luxon's school of middle management, that you're never supposed to acknowledge your wrongdoings. But yes, what Jack's just said is the oversight system wasn't really fit for purpose, was it? He doesn't say, as is evidenced by the result, but obviously it wasn't as is evidenced by the result. But the minister doesn't get there and won't get there. And it's fucking frustrating.
Complaints to your office regarding police behaviour before this incident?
The system has always worked. The reason why it failed is because we had a police executive that had major...
Yes, and you didn't have a system set up to catch that failure. So yes, it wasn't fit for purpose, and we're changing it. End of interview.
Integrity issues. And they were trying to protect one of their own. So the system has always worked. Nothing has changed. It's always worked.
Except that any complaint about police behaviour under the system that you established in your office wasn't going to the Minister of Police, it was going to police. Can you see that oversight was under the previous system, that oversight or lack of oversight was a systemic failure?
So the Jevon McSkimming email...
I know that we mock Mark a little bit by going, Mark Mitchell. But being really honest, and I haven't mulled over this for the whole weekend to come to this answer, but immediately I was thinking, Mark, this is the answer. Obviously, the Minister of Police is not going to investigate every complaint that comes to him about the police. However, what we need to put in place is, if there is a repetitive and serious complaint about a senior police officer, it must stay with us. Done.
Yeah.
He can't get there. He won't get there. And I think, respectfully, as I say something very disrespectful, he's not smart enough. He can't think on his feet to go, actually, there's a really easy solution here. And that's what I think we're seeing right now.
They would have been raised with my political team. What is effectively my chief of staff, my chief political advisor, or one of the advisors, one of my political team would be notified. But the protocol had in there that no one was to be notified, no one was to be aware. It was just to be sent straight through the Commissioner's office.
So this is the problem. Yeah, and Chewie, like I was talking about that movie Harriet, right? Harriet Tubman. If people have seen it, they'll know this. But at one point, what happens is Harriet Tubman runs away. She's a slave, and then she comes back and she meets up with her dad again. And her dad, I've got nothing that I can use. Her dad comes out with material over his eyes, right? And I thought, oh shit, has he gone blind? And he goes, I'm not going to look at your face. I'm not going to look at your face. I'm not going to look at your face. And then when the slave owner comes to the father's cabin and says to him, where is she? He goes, I have not laid my eyes on her face for a week. I do not know. So in other words, the father's setting up a system where he can tell the truth because he has not laid eyes on her, because he covered his eyes. Now, I'm not accusing Mitchell of this, but the answer he's given for someone else on some other day could also be a way of being Pontius Pilate and just wiping your hands of it and go, didn't see it, couldn't see it. So the system wasn't fit for purpose. Again, as is evidenced by the result we got. Chewie.
Yeah, so I've got a couple of thoughts so far. First of all, the fantastic sentence, the system's always worked, apart from this case where it failed, is an amazing, just he's just glossed over what he just said. It's incredible. Look, I think it is the system that's working as intended. It's protected everybody. Nobody's seen anything.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm not responsible for any of this. Like, dude, you're the police minister. Anything to do with the police portfolio ultimately rests with you. And if none of these emails have been sent to your office, I would fucking give you a pass. But your office was obviously had the thought process of the minister doesn't need to see this. We'll just flick them on. And I want my yardstick is here is if we swapped out Mark Mitchell, if we put another minister in here, either in National or one of the opposition police and justice spokespeople, Ginny Anderson or whatever, do you think the same thing would have happened? Do you think this is an office problem or a his office problem?
Yeah, possibly.
Now, I'm going to play devil's advocate here a little bit and say that there are a lot of emails that come into ministers, and some of them might be from utter cranks, because you see those Facebook posts from crazy people and all sorts of, and you know, you can just get the police minister's email and send him an email. But whoever had seen these 36 emails come in, and I would assume that they would be reasonably consistent about what they were saying. No point. 36 instances of this email, someone's gone, you know what? Maybe we should run this past the boss.
Let me interrupt you. Sorry.
Just isn't it a forward-on situation?
Only because he did talk in this about where the emails went to, and he straight away either misspoke or lied, and I don't know which it is, so no accusation. He says, you know, such and such secretary receives the emails and doesn't read them. And Jack went, well, she must read them a bit because she's got to know where to send them. And he went, oh yeah, well, you know, she reads it a little bit, but only as much as to know how to send it on. So which is obviously ridiculous. Of course, the person receiving them reads them, or else you're not going to know where to send them. So Chewie, someone or a group of people have seen either singularly, one person or combined team has seen this woman's emails 36 times come in the space of 6 months. So that's absolutely 100% what happened. And they still didn't put it up the chain.
Right, so here's an excellent chance for her for Mark to throw that person under the bus. And that would be a smoke grenade. It wouldn't be a very authentic one, but it would definitely, you know, an emotional junior staffer deleted these emails. Sorry, not my fault. But yeah, this is again, your office, your staff. Nobody thought it was worth even just going, hey man, we've received these emails, and then you might want to have a look at them. You make the decision. You're the police minister. But yeah, it's fucked. Like, it's very, like, the police thing, that's its own silo, right? And we've been really clear here that it's great that this whole thing hasn't been politicized and everybody's been really angry about it. And then that stops at this interview. Like it just stops. I don't give him a pass on this anymore.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I was thinking when I was listening to Drew. We were all very gracious last week, and part of the reason we were gracious is so was everyone in the debating chamber. Even when we had Tamitha on, Tamitha went, well, she said, I appreciated the tone, Things could have been done like as the Greens would want to be a bit further advanced, but it seems that the politicians were given grace. But I was listening to this yesterday as I was walking the dog going, this is not the case. I saw scroll past in the chat once or twice, what does a leader actually do? Is they take ultimate responsibility. Now, Mark Mitchell should have gone, look, I am the head of this department. I'm the head of the police. I'm the police. So ultimate responsibility always falls with me. Now, I can tell you that the systems that we got set up are probably fine for more minor complaints. The first year police officer that gets a complaint from a person, the way that they were ticketed on the side of a road can go back to the police. But from now on, we're instigating rules that anything above whatever layer that comes in that's credible will certainly be put onto my team and put onto me. I'm ultimately responsible for this. He could even have done that thing which no one ever believes. I offered my resignation to the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister declined it, and we're now moving on. That would have been like this is the thing about Luxon. He's a spineless jellyfish. He is a terrible businessman. He doesn't make deals, and he didn't do well for Air New Zealand. And the fish rots from the head. So if you've got an example in front of you of someone who won't go, I'm the Prime Minister, that means ultimately I'm responsible. Unfortunately, I don't know anything about it, but I'm going to take responsibility for sorting it out. Those words aren't in Luxon's vocabulary, which means they're not in Mitchell's, which means they're not in Stanford's, which means they're not in Willis's either. Because the fish rots from the head. That is the person we model ourselves on. That's why all these fuckers have started saying what I would say to you is, because the fish rots from the head. And it's like, and I know this from experience, you see some kind of cultish group like a church, if the person up the front grows a beard, beards start popping up around the men in that group. That's what happens. I'm not calling national a cult per se, but that's what happens. People follow the leader, and following this leader doesn't lend you into any area that you're going to take ultimate responsibility for something that you may have no hands on, but as the buck stopper you own.
National is a cult, and it's a cult of lack of personality.
Yeah. Let us go and play a bit more of this. This has technically got 2 minutes to go. I don't know if we'll get to the end of it, but we'll see.
No one was to be notified. No one was to be aware. It was just to be sent straight through the Commissioner's office to be dealt with. And at that time, no one had any visibility on the integrity issues we're dealing with now. And I just want to make this clear, because my private sec, I have enormous confidence in. She has been hit very hard by this. It is not her fault.
Because she
was
fucked
put
up.
in an awful position, because she had full trust in the Commissioner of the Police.
Yeah.
And she thought the Commissioner's actually dealing with this.
Hang on.
There was no one better to deal with, unfortunately.
If she saw 36 emails and she still had trust after 10, after 15, after 20, after 27, after 33, still had faith, don't you think your boss might want to know about that?
This woman, his press secretary, had such utter and total faith in the police commissioner that she was forwarding complaints about the commissioner onto the commissioner.
I don't think he said about the commissioner. Do you want me to go back? I just think the complaints. I'll go back. He'll go.
She has been hit very hard by this. It is not her fault. She was put in an awful position because she had full trust in the Commissioner of the Police.
Full trust.
And she thought the Commissioner's actually dealing with this. There was no one better to deal with. Unfortunately, she was operating in an environment that none of us knew about it, that we had major integrity issues.
So no, dealing with it meaning McSkimming.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Look, that's a judgment failure. Like, that is absolutely a judgment failure and an expectation failure. Like, this, you would hope that this doesn't come up often.
Yeah.
But surely the expectation must be set is that if there is a complaint involving the upper echelons of police, then that hits the yardstick of telling the Minister for Police about it. Like, this affects your portfolio, it affects if this goes wrong, how bad does it go wrong? How does it blow up in your boss's face? Like, purely from an ass covering, let alone a justice, natural justice point of view. This is bad. This is very, very bad.
Yeah, and look, it still might end up being that everything that was said last week was correct, but right now this man is being slippery and slimy and not even acknowledging that these practices and processes weren't fit for purpose. That's all I'm looking for. I'm actually not looking to hold him any more responsible today than I did last week for the actions, but what I am going to do is looking for him to take responsibility for how his office performed, which wasn't fit for purpose, which is obvious again by what happened. So this whole, well, it was fine until this point. Well, we had practices in place. Well, no, actually, it was fine until this point, but obviously it was not fit for purpose because look what happened. That's all he's missing. Like, that's all he's missing to be an actual leader. I'm going to push play before I blow my stack.
Inside the executive.
So you said that this is the kind of standard practice in ministers' offices, and I get that this is all kind of in the weeds a little bit, but to be totally clear, like if I was to email Shane Jones to complain about MPI, or I was to email Erica Stanford to complain about the Ministry of Education, should it be my expectation that those emails would actually be rerouted to the respective ministries, as opposed to going to the
They
minister?
will be. They'll be triaged. There's hundreds of emails and correspondence that comes through every day to the minister's office. They are rerouted to their ministry so that they could.
But it's not really. I mean, I don't mean to cut in any much more, but it's very different. Because when you're complaining about a police officer, someone who has the ability to take your freedom away, to impose a fine on you, et cetera, it's very different from complaining about something that's happening, within the Department of Conservation, and you're complaining about a path. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it's exactly as black and white as this, but this is different. This is complaining about the actions of someone who may well have a gun on their hip, who has the power to throw you in the back of a car in handcuffs. It's not the same to be complaining to the Ministry of Education about the new teaching standards. You know what I'm saying? So it's not, even though I think they might even talk about education here, it's different because a police officer, a teacher is not going to put you in handcuffs and throw you in the back of a car and take you to a cell and fingerprint you. That's not going to happen. So there should be different standards.
Can get an answer to their query or the issue that they bring.
But if it's a complaint
I'm not going to talk to how they specifically run their offices, because everyone will have a different way of doing that. The system works. The system that works in my office had worked.
It doesn't work.
It works until it doesn't work, which is
no, it doesn't work. As is the evidence we have before her.
The biggest scandal involving the police, and it involved your office.
And what does it say about him? The system works. It doesn't work. Or else we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Can you imagine how this would have played if... So these 36 emails run in. The secretary goes to Mark, hey, look, I think you might want to cast your eye over this. Mark Mitchell raises it with the IPCA to commence their investigation. IPCA makes its findings public, as they have done, and say the minister's office drew our attention to this.
Yeah.
Covered in glory, Mark Mitchell comes up to the podium and goes, as a former frontline police officer, I am angered and ashamed at the deputy commissioner and the commissioner. I'm furious. They're both gone. Fuck them.
Especially if you said that, that would be double tick. Can I say there's one other thing? And I listened to this interview in the week and then I watched it again today to find the clip. And Bruce asks a question which I've been wondering as well. I'm unclear on whether Mark Mitchell changed the process. Bruce said he has, or this is how it always, that was the system. Because that's the next question to ask. If this is Mark Mitchell's system about sending complaints straight back to police, but under the last police minister that wasn't the system, then that once again speaks to his leadership roles and middle management role, because the system he put in place was a part of the reason that this fell through the gaps. So we'll figure that out. We'll find it out.
Doing that, the system works. The system that works in my office had worked up until the time we had a corrupt police executive. That is where the failure was. It was not in the system. It was the fact that we're coming up against a corrupt police executive, and that is where the failure was.
So they are corrupt.
He said the word.
Well, you've used the word.
No, you use the word.
Yeah, I have used it, but and actually, to be honest with you, if
I need to have one of those beep, 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 beep sound effects on the board.
You use the word.
Yeah, I have used it, but and actually, to be honest with you, if you from a personal view, my own personal view,
not
the
government,
view of the
not
government, but as the police minister, having seen what's happened, seen the behaviour that's been perpetrated, seen the way the victim has been treated, seen the way that power has been used to subvert the processes in an intentional way, then I think a lot of people would probably, like I said, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, that's what we had to deal with.
But in a personal view, not the government.
I think it crossed the boundary, absolutely.
So there you go. That's why we only had one clip, Whānau, because it took us about 20 minutes to get through it. But real interesting at the end, because at the start of that interview, Jack Tane used the word corruption, and Mitchell did a politicians things where he talked about what the IPCA had laid out, and they hadn't used that word, but at no point did he say whether he thought it was or not. And then it just bloop, slipped out of his mouth, and then the backtracking went, totally.
That is corrupt. He said the truth, which is what triggered a panic response, because he's a national MP, and the truth triggers a panic response every time.
And let's just pay attention. There's a couple of things here, actually. Rosie saying, we get our hands over there like this so we can.
Big comment.
I'm so pleased your commentary has deepened on this pattern, Chewie. It's all very well for parties to be holding hands and singing Kumbaya. Is that how you spell Kumbaya? How about that? But to me, that was a smokescreen. This is serious systemic failure at best. At worst, it's corruption inside corruption. Look, I mean, I'll say it again. All I needed him to do was to take responsibility, or even acknowledge that the system he had set up in his office, or the system that was set up in his office, was flawed. And he refused to do that. He refused to go, hindsight, that was wrong, we've fixed it. That's it. That's really all. And that's a pretty fucking low bar to actually take that kind of commentary and actually move on and still stop sounding like you're trying to defend the situation of your office, when obviously the situation is the reason this didn't get caught. This is no responsibility to what McSkimming did or what Costa did, but this is responsibility as to why it went on for so long and the failings within your office. That is this commentary. That's fair. Sure.
Yeah. I think also from a leadership point of view, like he mentioned, she's having a tough time and all of that sort of stuff. I don't feel like that came from an authentic place either. That sound like, you can't be mean to me because my office manager's sad. It's not right. It's not right. You could have just very easily said, this has shown us a hole in our systems, and I've had a chat to my staff, and it will not happen again. It shouldn't have happened, and it will not happen again.
I do not have the exact dates for you here. Get a New Zealand Life, but I'm pretty sure not guessing because I have seen them, it's just not quite my brain skull cap thing. It was like December 23 to April 24. It was about a 5 or 6 month period that they were coming in. So this is the other thing, and I put a post up about this the other day, that there are some people who are pointing to Labour, appointing McSkimming and Costa and saying they are to blame. Now, I said this last week, and I'll say it again to you guys out there if you see that. All of the complaints and cover-up happened under National. Now, last week we went, I don't think you need to blame Labour, and I don't think you need to blame National. what I would say tonight is I don't think you need to blame Labor. I don't think you necessarily need to blame National, but I do think some responsibility is with the Minister of Police and the systems he had set up in his office that should have caught this sooner. It wouldn't have stopped the, I'll say, alleged crimes, because the McSkimming sexual stuff never got found guilty of it. It was never that. He did a couple of other things that were probably worse. But what I'm saying is the 36 emails, the complaints, and also on top of that, of course, the whole let's charge the lady for sending harmy emails to us after they go through the minister's office 36 times and back to the police to someone's office who was part of the cover-up. Just saying. Can I actually correct one other thing as well? We did a bit last week, as others did as well, on Orini Kaipara and about not being on the Te Pāti Māori Our People website. Now, I've had reports from people saying that she did have a profile up there, but there are also reports coming out now that says she was never up there. And in fact, I think Debbie Naruapaka herself said they were waiting to get a full bio before they put it up and online. I just want to put out there publicly that if she was never on the website, and I've had both sides said, but we never addressed the side of it, if she was never on the website, then we absolutely withdraw and apologise our position. Although our position was only, that's a bit weird, what's this mean? But if that was the case, we want to retract. If it's wrong that she was never on the website, then we need to correct that, and I guess that's what I'm doing right now. Anyway, Chewie, there's another story. Is there anything else you want to get to? There's a whole bunch of starred comments in there. Do you want to do some super chats here while I get the next one ready?
I can't.
Ah, yeah. Sorry. Okay. Ryzen says, can you not see them at all, or can you? Oh, you're watching them on YouTube.
I can see them. I can't do anything. I can see them in StreamYard, but I can't do anything with them.
Okay. With Gary running against Reti and Tanya running for the Greens, I got to ask, when's Craig announcing he's running as well? Kathy says, not sure if true, but another podcast today said the police staffer in his office put in an Outlook rule to divert that person's emails back to the police.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not about beating up on some person because they've made a mistake. But if the mistake that is made causes a significant turmoil, whether it's criminal, whether it's social, whether it's emotional, you don't just get to go, oh, they feel real bad. Like, that's the kind of thing that and these guys love talking about the corporate world. In the corporate world happened, that person would be fired. I am, as someone sitting on the left, am not advocating for this person to be fired, but I'm also going, you can't just go, if that person is involved inadvertently or not within the systemic failure of that office, like if that message is correct and something they've actively done has helped the situation, I don't mean on purpose, I don't mean they've purposely gone, oh, let's send these away, then there is a responsibility there as well. And just going, oh, they feel really bad, I just always think about what would this government be saying if they were in opposition right now to hold a Labour-led government to a standard. If someone came out of there, if Ginny Anderson said, oh, they feel terrible about this, would they just go, oh, that's fine, they feel terrible, we'll leave it at that? Or would they go, actually, that person has some responsibility, and actually, Minister, as the person who employs that person, you're the ultimate buck stopper and it rests with you, that person making that mistake, or not? Yeah. Hope Mitchell's office wasn't the one who reported her. Peter says, that's a massive chilling effect on whistleblowers. Yep. E. Grant Wright says, he issued a disclaimer on the corruption. Right. Anything else from you, Chewie? That's all the super chat's done. Or should we get into the last story, which is actually the story that you're going to be most grumpy about, I think, to be honest.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Let's get into that then.
I had my foo-foo turn. It's time for you to have your foo-foo turn. You can do it this time around, okay? Because the government is letting more polluting cars into the country.
Oh,
and they're
fuck's sake.
And they're going, I don't know why, but nobody's buying EVs at the moment. Yeah, let's have a look. At some point we'll have a look. Maybe we'll refresh and have a look again. Yeah, we'll have a look. Here it comes at some stage.
This Christchurch car yard has plenty of electric vehicles on the lot, but selling them comes at a cost.
It's a tough EV market, but we are still moving them. But we are unfortunately moving them at a loss.
It's a challenge nationwide after the government last year scrapped the EV rebate, known as the Clean Car Discount.
Well, it's tumbled the EV market, and it's turned a lot of people off the EV market when the RUCs come in and the clean car got dropped on it.
Now a warning from the industry.
So just so you're clear, that insider, that person working in the system is saying that road user charges, which we all acknowledge had to come at some stage, but getting rid of the clean car rebate is the reason that he's finding it difficult to sell. That's his reasoning as a small business owner,
As a car
Mr.
dealer.
Luxon.
Yeah.
Yes.
has prompted the government to step in.
Today we're announcing necessary, urgent changes to the Clean Vehicle Standard, which will help avoid big increases to the cost of import.
Yeah, why are they necessary, Mr. Luxon? What's happened in the past 18 months or so to make these be necessary? Like, is anything? Can we identify anything? Yes? No? And I'm going to go to the actual press conference today because some stuff's not covered in this and it's fascinating to hear. Talk about running away from, but it's worked until this point. A version of that.
Cars.
Alongside the Clean Car Discount were annual targets for imported vehicles and how much gas they guzzled. Balancing higher emitting models with enough lower emission vehicles would meet the target and earn credits, while failure would result in charges for the importer.
Used importers are paying penalties on over 70% of the stock that they're bringing in, and those
because they're choosing to bring in cars that are worse for our environment. Because they're choosing to bring in cars that, you know why they're bringing them in? I'll explain, Whānau. This is my opinion. It doesn't say it in this. They're bringing those cars in because guess what? They're getting them cheaper. And guess why they're getting them cheaper? Because they're not able to go to any other country. So New Zealand becomes the dumping ground for worse emitting cars, which means for these dealers, they're buying them dirt cheap and they're paying a penalty on them and they're still making stacks of cash because Australia doesn't want them. America doesn't want America's the wrong side of the world. Australia doesn't want them. So New Zealand becomes the dumping ground for all of those major emitting vehicles that are still left within the second-hand car market. Yes, keep going, eh? Here we go.
penalties can be well over $1,000 per vehicle.
Today, the government announced a temporary slash on charges by up to 80%. A Toyota RAV4 GX Hybrid has a current charge of $361. Now, that'd be reduced to $80. This Ford Ranger Raptor...
Massive.
Have a guess. So
Oh my God. Okay.
The fee on the Raptor. The Raptor, like the
Ford
worst in the
Raptors
world.
Are our most polluting private vehicles.
So to bring it into the country, that would be so that's basically, we'll call that the tariff. Make it easy. The tariff on bringing that into the country was $5,500. And the government's like, we don't want people to have to pay too much for these cars that happen to all be terrible emitting cars. So what do you reckon? Shall we have a guess? What's it going to go down to? Go on.
Under 2?
Okay, we'll have a look.
would see its charge reduced from $5,500 to around $1,200.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And here's something else. Just remember, this is the government, and we hold them accountable to the same standard. This is the government that tried to convince New Zealand that supermarkets wouldn't pass on the cost of taking GST off fruit and veggies. But now they're trying to convince you that car dealers who are currently selling this car at a certain price are going to pass on the $3,000 and a bit. A supermarket wouldn't pass 10 cents on if you're buying an apple, but a car dealer is going to pass on $3,000. Interesting.
and this Corolla would see charges reduced by more than $6,500. Overall, the government estimates the changes will avoid $264 million in net charges that could have been passed on to consumers.
We had some of the highest rates of uptake of electric vehicles in the world with the clean car discount. The government absolutely collapsed all of that when they cancelled it.
How much responsibility does the government take for the current situation?
No, we stand by the decisions that were made on the best available information to us at the time. We are now acting in accordance with what we think the public deserve and need and what the industry need, and we're responding to their calls and doing the right thing.
As the government has said, this is interim relief, so it's great to see this over the next year or two while we have a conversation about how can we fix the clean car standard itself, because it's not working for used importers.
Very, 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 very important comment there. It's not working for, did we hear it, Whānau? It's not working for the used importers. It's not working for the importers. Gentleman here didn't say it's not working for the customer or the consumer or for businesses. It's not working for used vehicle importers. That means this government is changing the rules around importing vehicles that emit more carbon, that are worse for our environment, so it's better for used car importers. That's why they're doing it.
At this point, I think the next government in press conferences that the National is stripping the copper out of the walls of Parliament. Like, they're just wrecking everything. Like, I cannot overstate. You look up how much pollution a Ford Ranger does. They are just not a clean, modern vehicle. You can see yourselves in your own towns where you are, how many spotlessly clean Ford Rangers are pulling the most unhinged maneuvers that can't fit in car parks. They're massively unsafe for pedestrians. There is no redeeming feature for those vehicles at all. It is just for people that want that hard man image that comes with a double cab ute that you can't even fit a proper load in the back for. But yes, we are, as you said, we are going to end up as a dumping ground for inefficient, dirty vehicles that cannot be sold anywhere else. You look at what's happening at Europe at the moment, where countries are just going, oh, fuck batteries, let's go. But this perception that it's a spiral effect, a snowball effect, is that the dealers don't feel like they can bring in EVs because they'll get stuck with them. It's because they were bringing in shitty ones to begin with, absolutely thrashed Leafs, that nobody wants now because there are better options. And so because they can't move the second-hand Leafs that they imported because they were literally getting paid to import them, then they go, oh, EVs as a whole, nobody wants them.
Well, let's get on to that, shall we? Because in the actual press conference, these questions were asked. This is only 45 seconds. But one reporter wants to know what responsibility this government takes right now for where we're at with vehicles.
You have to take some responsibility for the falling demand because you got rid of those very incentives?
Well, the feedback from the industry is that some of the demand a couple of years ago was, in some cases, artificial, because they had a whole lot of what they regard as stranded electric vehicles that they kind of pumped into the market and maybe sold at a discount at various different points. The reality is we've got to deal with the facts that are in front of us, which is that demand for EVs are not there, and I think people understand that in a difficult economic environment with the cost of living, paying the upfront capital costs of EVs is challenging. So we are making some changes in the short term while we do a full review of the standard.
So, I don't know if you heard that, everybody, but in there, when the reporter asked them if they have some responsibilities for the fall in demand, Minister Bishop, as a part of his answer, said, quote, the demand for EVs are not there, end quote. So you need to ask the question, why is the demand for EVs not there? Here's a newsroom article quite early on in 2024. EV sales plummet after clean car scheme scrapped. Electric, now this has a caveat. Electric vehicles have fallen from 1 in 4 new vehicles purchased in 2023. 1 in 4, 25% of the new vehicles sold in 2023 were EVs, to 1 in 26 in the first month of this year after the government scrapped the clean car discount. Now, Chewie will tell you that obviously there was a massive uptake of buying EVs in the last month or so of 2023 because it was about to go. So let's just have a look at something that might be more accurate across the board, not the few months after. Value of electricity vehicles imports falls nearly 60%. The value of fully electric vehicles imported fell nearly 60% in June over a year earlier. So, well, that's the value. That's not necessarily the uptake. But it's unquestionable that the demand for EVs dropped pretty much in line with their the national government's cancelling of the clean car discount. And as Chewie has educated me, and I'm sure will educate us all now, at the time where they cancelled the EV clean car discount, it was paying for itself. So it wasn't costing the taxpayer a cent. It was paying for itself, and 1 in 4 new purchases were EVs. And they cancelled it, and then the EV market crashed. Do you want to add to that, Chewie?
Oh, Jesus, what to say? Look, this government is not seeing the trend that is overseas. It's not seeing the massive pivot towards electric vehicles by all the main producers. Like Tesla has an enormous market share in Europe, even though they're hemorrhaging it. BYD has massively expanded everywhere, and this is being driven in a large part because of the standards that the EU is putting out there for emissions. It has kind of what we were wanting to do with smoking, right? Every year the emissions would go down, and so they've put incentives in place, and they've put things like congestion zones. Like when I was recently over in London, the change that I have seen over the last 10 years of how many electric vehicles there are in London, because they're exempt from congestion charging.
Yeah.
And so people in London are like, well, it's a no-brainer then. I'm going to get an EV, and they're smaller and they're more efficient and all of this sort of stuff. We are reaching now a point where like the myth of like the high capital cost to get an EV, that we're at parity. BYD announced this last week
the Atto one.
They're bringing a car in that is at the equivalent price new as a Toyota Corolla.
Yep, Atto 1, 29,990. So it's under 30k, brand new EV.
The car that I have, you can pick up second hand, and it's a brilliant car, $14,000. Like the myth of like nobody can afford EVs is well gone. Bishop himself drives a Leaf. His boss has 2 Teslas.
Well, no,
like
even
these
that.
Guys,
in that press conference, Bishop says, we're a 2 EV. I love EVs. Yeah, but you may love EVs, but there might be a paycheck at some stage in the future from another group that don't like EVs quite so much. Maybe that's got something to do with it.
So and again, they're not talking about the benefits. But like, again, if someone had some brains, like I have some criticisms of the clean car rebate scheme. Like maybe there was a better place to put some government money, but it was a solid plan overall until it changed hands and these guys started picking at it. It was that double-edged sword of like, we want to get rid of the dirty emitting vehicles. We're going to do that with a stick of these fees. That is going to pay for making EVs cheaper and the benefits of bringing that level of fleet up and having that second-hand market there. The only problem was they didn't have enough control. And we just saw dealers bringing in shitty Leafs rather than other cars with more longevity. Like a local car dealer here in Dunedin just tried to like massively defraud that whole process in the
really?
end, and he got caught for it, and his business folded because of it. But yeah, it's so dumb. You cannot. I think this is a core reflection of this government has no vision, has no long-term planning, cannot think of a better future for this country or for the people in it, and is just taking the worst advice from the worst lobby groups and not doing anything for us. It is for the second-hand car dealers fucking association or whatever, or the fossil fuel companies, or the mining companies, or the tobacco companies, the real estate association. Nothing for me. Nothing. If you're on an average wage and you're renting and you got a couple of kids, get fucked. How dare you? How dare you expect anything from this government? And it's just another slice of the issue that we're dealing with these guys, and we've got to get rid of them.
We're going to play one more clip from the press conference, and we're going to sign off for the night. He was asked how much responsibility does this government have for the increase in cost to the consumers of vehicles. And there's one part I want to particularly highlight in here, and that's when Bishop goes to explain who was paying for these EVs, who was subsidising them. We actually know, we've said it now, right? We know that the last couple of months of that clean car discount, the who was paying for it was the people buying the large emitters. The scheme was positive. There was no taxpayers' money going towards it. But Bishop has a different story, and even with that different story, I'd like to address it quickly.
How much responsibility does the government take for the added costs on car dealers and consumers?
Well, the scheme itself was established in 2023. We made some changes to bring it into line with Australia, which was supported by the industry at the time and supported by many people. And I think most people said that's pretty reasonable. At the time, the advice was that it was going to be essentially a sensible change. It was going to lead to a glide path over time that people could meet, and it would essentially, work in the way that it's intended. That hasn't transpired. Now, at that point, government's got a choice. We can either put our hand in the air and say, well, we're not going to make any changes. That's life. Deal with it.
You made a change in 2024. You made a change at the start of last year, which some in the industry say put the industry out of whack. I've spoken to two of them today. They say that scrapping the clean car discount put the industry out of whack. So how much responsibility does the government take for the current situation?
Well, we stand by our decision to scrap the clean car discount. The clean car discount, just so we're really clear what it was.
Just in case you need to understand what it is, and then I'll speak to what it says.
I'm going to explode on this, aren't I?
Maybe.
Decision to scrap the clean car discount. The clean car discount, just so we're really clear what it was general taxpayers paying for people to buy cheaper EVs. So that is basically people who could already afford to buy an EV. So on average, middle to upper income New Zealanders being subsidised by every other New Zealander at a time when the government is running enormous budget deficits. We do not think it was justifiable for general taxpayers to use borrowed taxpayer money that we will have to repay at vast expense later to subsidise middle class and wealthy New Zealanders to buy
we wanted to give
EVs.
That money to
that is not a defensible public policy position. That's why we scrapped.
Chewie. The theme of what Mr. Bishop just said, that it's not fair that general taxpayers end up subsidising people to buy EVs. So the questions I have for Mr. Bishop, then why is it okay that general taxpayers are subsidising landlords? Why is it okay that general taxpayers are subsidising big tobacco? So if it's not okay for general taxpayers, I don't agree with you, by the way, Mr. Bishop, that it was general. But if we take that as right, why was it not okay for general taxpayers to subsidise EVs getting into the marketplace? If that wasn't okay, then why are we subsidising big mining? Why, Mr. Bishop, do you find the line of going, oh, heavens no, the taxpayer couldn't pay for that when it comes to EVs, but not landlords big tobacco or mining? That's what I would like to know from you, Minister. Maybe you could come back to us on that.
I mean, you're right on the bigger issue, but even on this direct issue, he's wrong. Like, the idea was that it was going to be self-funding, although it needed, using investment terms, seed money to get it going.
Yeah.
Right? And his vision is so short-sighted that he can't see the flow-on benefit. What was the point? To get people to buy more EVs, which then cycle through into the second-hand market, that then bring the price, the entry point for EVs, like when I bought mine, made them more affordable. I didn't use a clean car discount, but there was enough downward pressure in those EVs that it dropped the price 10 grand in the 6 months that I was looking for my car. That was the benefit.
I just, part of me is very frustrated. It was interesting hearing Mikey in that, because she had a bit of a crack and she cut him off and talked over him, but no one in that room went, why is it not okay for taxpayers to subsidise EV sales, but it is okay for taxpayers to subsidise big tobacco, to subsidise landlords, to subsidise petroleum companies, to subsidise mining companies? Why is that okay, Mr. Bishop? But of course it didn't get asked.
Like, it very much like everything else, their mouth is moving and they're saying one thing, but all of their actions play against that. They're kind of like, oh, it's unfortunate that EV sales have tanked and we had nothing to do with it. But you've put road user charges on. I can live with that. Like, both governments always signaled that they would get to a point where they would do that. But it would have been more sensible for them to just do the work and roll out road user charges for all passenger vehicles.
Yeah.
So that's still coming. Road user charges, they're talking about 2029, I think, for all passenger vehicles. And I think at that point, with the influx of cheaper EVs and more choice in the market, and the performance has increased and the range has increased, that comparison between petrol and electric, there will be a switch there.
Yeah.
Where they're on the same level playing field. I can tell you now that it is a lot cheaper to drive from an EV. And that should be the thing, is that they're good cars, they're fun to drive, and ultimately they're cheaper.
I think you were talking before about the reason to get an EV and how easy it is. If I still lived in Auckland and I was driving 45 minutes to work each day, like there and back sort of thing, the amount of money I would be saving on fuel actually would lend me to being able to get an EV, whatever you call it, on finance. And it would still I'd then probably be paying the same, but driving an EV, and then once I'd paid for it, would be driving cheaper. I don't know why anyone who lives anywhere out the motorways, whether it's out in Helensville or down in Papakura or, up on the North Shore, isn't driving an EV right now. And they probably would have if Labor had a won last time and that discount was still there, which it's now not. I also want to say, Chewie, this purely comes in side by side. Like, these are one after each other. You can see at the time, 10:51 a.m. Otterbot says yes, Chewie, and the very next one at 10:51 p.m. I said a.m. p.m. Right on, Pat. So we're getting the love.
We're right.
We're getting the love. Let me say this, citizen, when is a reporter going to step and ask? You do know that no one believes you when you say you acted on the best info you had at the time, right? Yeah. Well, that's much of a muchness. Okay, whānau. Sorry, you're not quite finished.
I've just done some quick math just because I'm curious, because I've never really done this. For those of you that drive petrol vehicles, I never did. So my first car was an electric car. I just want you to do in your head, how much would it cost you to drive 1,000 kilometres just in fuel costs, right? You don't play road user charges It's just fuel costs. Like if you can put that in the chat, if you know how much you would pay over 1,000 kilometers.
The car I sold, that big, it was a V6 Outlander, so it was particularly juicy. Yeah. Probably $300, maybe $250 to $300. The fuel alone, that doesn't include depreciation or tires but just for the fuel.
Just talking
$250 to $300. Yeah.
Sweet. My car, $136. Does
that include road users?
That's including road user charges.
Wow, because that's 70 in it for 1,000.
76, I think it is. 76 and like $12 a charge.
So going on what I've said, if in a major metro you did like 1,000 Ks within 2 weeks, which is probably not unheard of, 500 Ks. I mean, not for everyone, but if you're at the end of the motorways, then you've got about $250 to play with to pay off an EV, and that would be you'd be paying the same for a brand new EV as you would be paying it. That's what I'm saying. I live in Dunedin, so it's not a formula you can use here. But if you're in Auckland, potentially if you're further out, maybe in Hamilton, but if you're in Wellington, probably not Christchurch. But if you're doing sort of that hour drive a day, or if you're doing 30, 40, 50 Ks a day, probably would just pay for itself to get a new one on finance. Close to it at least.
So Peter's got the example that I'm looking for, and a very popular, seen as very economical car, is Suzuki Swift.
Yeah.
He's saying between 200 and 250.
Yeah.
So that's the yardstick. Like if they were just talking about, like, doesn't even have to be, you want to be kind to the environment. Just
freedom bucks.
You want a car with good performance that's fun to drive, that needs fuck all maintenance, and is super, super cheap to run. Like like you don't even have to think about the charging network. You plug it in with a 3-point plug when you get home. You put 50 kilometers in it overnight. It's job done. It's so easy.
But let me tell you this about the charging network. You don't worry about that, obviously, if you're driving to work and home. But in January of this year, I drove from the bottom of the South Island to literally the top of the North Island in our EV. The charging network is fine. It's a little bit sparse sort of south of Timaru. Honestly, it is. Going to Wanaka in March, and I've already had a look, and the only thing out there is a BP, so I'm going to have to get the BP app. South of Timaru, it can be problematic. I was so impressed with the charging system I used, and I'm not going to tell you who it is, because I talked to them about doing another road trip with us for Waitangi, and they said no, so fuck them. And we talked to a couple of EV companies about a road trip, and they all said no, so fuck you too. But EV around the country EV network is not a problem. Every centre you go into, and lots in the middle, like in is it Wairoa? Basically at the base of Mount Ruapehu, they're there, so they're everywhere. The drip. And if you are one of those people who is involved with an EV network or an EV car company, you've still got time to get in for potentially, not that we're planning it yet, but a road trip next year to Waitangi. Mail at bhn.nz. Is there a fast charge option with EVs? A fast charge option for what? Yes, because the answer is yes. You can get a fast charger installed in your home, or you can use the ones north of Timaru, because basically south of Timaru, there's not many fast chargers.
I think they're working their way south. So my example is that my EV is a relatively short range one. It's a 200 kilometer range. So if I'm doing a long trip up north, I'm driving out of Dunedin with a full battery. I'm stopping in Oamaru for 10-15 minutes. I'm driving on to Timaru again, 10-15 minutes. Like, these are places that I would want to stop and get something to eat, or go to the bathroom, or let the dog out for a walk anyway. It hasn't changed how I would drive, even if I had a car that went a 600 kilometer range. Like, I just like to get out, stretch my legs, and be alert as a driver. It's no great umbrage. I charge my car once every 2 weeks.
But here's something else to know, and this is something that you learn. EVs, we're going to lessons about EVs now. EVs are the opposite of combustion engines. Combustion engines around town are terrible for fuel economy. On the open road, they're good. EVs, it's the other way around. As an example, my EV has got a range of 520 Ks. I did the numbers on it the other day when I was driving around town, Chewie, and I had 55% left in my battery and 341 Ks on the thing. That's a range of 627 Ks. Now, that's because I was driving around town, and most EVs are most efficient around that sort of 38 to 45 kilometers per hour. And if you're driving in a city, lights, stop, go, that's what you travel. Think about your phone battery, right? You've got a phone, the battery in here, if you use your phone lots and you drive it hard, eats through the battery more quickly. If you don't, it lasts better. So something for someone to know before you buy is actually, if you're mostly using your EV around town, that's even better, because the range is better at those kind of 30 to 50 Ks an hour. And open road, it's not as efficient. It's the opposite. There you go, Chewie. That's the one thing I know about EVs, Chewie. You know everything else? That's my one thing.
Oh, honestly, just go and test drive one if you can. If you're thinking about it, like, just go and test drive it. They are just so much fun. Much fun to drive.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing about them, someone's saying, dang, Pat, look at your case. It's also, it was 19.5 degrees. Like the day before, when it was 11 degrees, its range was about 480. So it dropped about 150 Ks. I don't think mine's got one of those heated packs, has it, Chewie? Whatever they're called around the battery. They heat them and they cool them.
I don't know.
I don't know. All right. Okay, Whānau, we could continue to talk about EVs all night, but I know you want us to get out of here before 2 hours is up. I'm just kidding. A little reminder, if you're in Dunedin or around Dunedin on the weekend of the 5th of December, in case you weren't aware of this, our New Zealand health system is in a dire emergency. It's an open public meeting, equitable healthcare for all. Sophie Barker, who is the Mayor of Dunedin and part of the Save Our Hospital group, Dr. Gary Payinda, who is a Labour Party candidate, and Emergency Department consultant Craig Rennie, who is a CTU economist, and a couple of freaks with beards will be there to host the whole thing. It's at Edu Cafe, 333 George Street, Dunedin, Friday the 5th of December, 6:30 till 8 o'clock. Now, that's the public meeting. The private thing, if you guys are interested, is we're also going to do a BHN podcast meetup at 5:30. Now, that's not being advertised on the posters, obviously, because that's just for you. So if you're in or around Dunedin and you want to come along to a BHN meetup, then 5:30 at Edu Cafe, 333 George Street, Dunedin, and then at 6:30, public meeting will be starting. That's about it. Put it in your calendars. We won't push that too hard. It's 3 weeks away. We won't push it too hard. Just give you a bit of a heads up. I think that's us, Chewie. I think we're done. Other than to remind you, Whānau, because now it's officially on our site because Johan did it for us. Merry Christmas, Whānau. We want to make you twice as happy. Let's do it, shall we? Oh, look, I can go to my cart and show you. Let's remove that one. So you can see that, I don't know what's in US dollars, but you can see, even though it says 64.64, you can see the total is only 96. So it's taken half off, so that's 64 and 32. That is US dollars. I don't know why it says US dollars. That's my fault. So you see, you buy two items, one of them is then half price. Now that's the financial deal. On top of that, if any of your orders contain a hoodie, we will send you an 8-pack of stickers. That's going to be a bit of a lucky dip, 8-pack of stickers. And if any of your order contains a T-shirt, we will send you a 4-pack of stickers. If you contain a T-shirt and a hoodie, then you'll get an 8-pack because it's a hoodie within there. I think that's right. BHN.nz/shop. And if you do want something for Christmas for you or a family member or a friend or whatever, or a loved one or an enemy or a politician or I was going to say something really horrible then, but I won't. It was quite offensive what I was going to say. I stopped myself. See, I'm maturing, Whānau. Then I would just ask you to get onto it sooner rather than later, because I don't want people to be ordering sort of in the middle of December, wanting them for Christmas and us not having the time to get them to you. BHNshop.nz. And also remember, Whānau, 20th, which is this 17, 18, Thursday, the podcast awards get announced. And I'll be honest with you, Chewie, I don't have a good feeling about it. I don't know why. I don't have a good feeling about it. I looked at the entries.
You've done, chat. You've bummed Pat out.
I've been bummed out. I'm like, don't get your hopes up, Whānau. Don't get your hopes up. That's all I'm saying. But they're out on Thursday as well. All right. I think that's us, unless there's anything else you need to mention, Chewie.
No.
You sure?
We're over
Nothing?
2 hours now. It's not nice time.
God, what's wrong with us? There is something significantly wrong with us.
Help us settle a debate, whether it be thoughtful or funny, even if we're all creatures of hate. It's a fine line that we're walking together. For better, push aside the temptation to berate. Let's take a note of the corners we stand in. As many points as the hairs on my chinny chin chin. When the news that we're watching is hairy, knowing all the things that we need to be wary of. Like the rich have the hand out for rewards, while the many have to work out what they can afford. And the rest of us ain't paying attention, or maybe have questions we're too worried to mention. Other media is still dwelling on trivial facts, vetting peas from the rice and the mice from the rats, and picking and choosing a war path to run, and linking ourselves with the hill to die on. It's gotta come down to a welcoming vibe, with an A and a self and a higher in mind. All have a lean either this way or that, and will be analyzed by what Chewie and Pat. With the evil in the world trying to mess with your head, and you're sitting on the couch, you're thinking chivalry's dead. Each night, 2 nights, they're gonna sing you to bed. It's Big Hairy News.
I wonder why it felt so different with the credits tonight. I realised I wasn't putting up all the goodbyes. I don't know why I was putting up the goodbyes. I just wasn't. I'm a dick, I guess. Also, a reminder for the merch. If you want to purchase an oversize, that's 4XL, 5XL, 7XL, then email us. We don't do it through the site. We source them differently. Mail at bhn.nz. I'll honour all the same specials. We'll just do it through the email, and we can get it sorted for you. Anything else, Chewie? Anything else you want to say?
No, it's Sleepy Bobo's time for me now.
Sleepy Bubba.
I need my warm milk and my binky.
All right. We will catch you tomorrow night from 9 p.m. Remember, Tanya Waikato will be joining us. So get fired up, whānau, and we'll see you tomorrow night from 9 for our next edition of Big Hairy News. Hooroo.
Cheers, fam.